Hello and welcome to Two Men in the Shed. I'm Justin.
And I'm Dan. Thanks for pointing at me.
Yeah, I do it every week. I don't know why you're making such a big deal of it.
Technically, that's you making a big deal of it.
Let me tell you what the topics are.
Okay.
This week, we're going to be discussing the woke and how they're offended at everything. Why technology is very slow in coming to market after we see all these discoveries happening and then they disappear from the news for 5 years. Nuclear power and the energy crisis and global warming. There's a few other topics if we get to them, but that's the main.
Cool.
So, Bad Boy, do you want to kick us off?
Do I? Oh, yes.
Let's do it.
Wow. Yeah. So this is really kind of, I don't know. It feels like people feel like they need to be feel like they're entitled to do this sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Where you could just say something, could be anything, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's ridiculous! How dare they?" And you're like, "There's no reason to be offended by it whatsoever."
Yeah, weak is the first thing that comes to my mind.
No, I merely think
I mean mentally, not physically.
No, I merely think it's they I don't know what it is, like they feel a need to, like, because it's like a trend type thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's like
I don't know. I disagree. I think there's the people that jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
The signal virtuous that say, "Oh, look at me! I'm with these people. I believe in you. Yeah, whatever."
Yeah.
And then there's the people who genuinely get offended at everything.
But where are these people coming from? Because surely this wasn't a thing 15 years ago.
Universities. Have you seen the university campus? Was it the one of the universities in the UK, University of Kent?
Right.
They've just said that all of their tutors, all of the professors, and all of the students should now refer to each other as they, until such a time as the person has officially announced their pronouns.
No, that's not good.
They also said that surname cannot be used because it's part of the patriarchy.
Right.
Because Sir comes from sire.
Yeah.
So it's from the patriarchy, so you can't say that anymore. They're not allowed to say a Christian name. Your Christian name's not normally your first name.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to use that term anymore, Christian name, because it offends people who aren't Christian.
Wow. That's it's
so
out of control.
Everyone's walking around Kent University going, "They, how you doing? They." I have so many problems with that.
I know. Well, yeah.
They.
Firstly, it's a noun.
It's a plural.
Yeah, it's plural, more than one. And I had this discussion recently, actually, with a few people. But yeah, it's more than one. It doesn't. I mean, it either suggests mental illness or it suggests, schizophrenia is mental illness. So, but that's all I can think. Like,
well, it's not schizophrenia, is it? It's just
multiple personalities.
Well, it's not multiple personalities. They've got one personality, which is just
more than one.
Wrong. So I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Just ignore that.
I think we just rewind that back and.
No, I disagree with. They've been brought up, and the universities are teaching them. If you don't agree, shout as loud as you can, and you'll get your way.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This seems like an era, like a period, right? And everyone's obviously trying to.
Sorry, carry on. I'm just going to get my coffee.
Oh my dear God! This is what it would be like if I had a podcast by myself. So it's like a period that's happening where you try and end it too soon, right? And they're just going to moan that, "Oh, you didn't give us a chance, you didn't do this." So I feel that we should just kind of let it pan out, let them have their time, and then just go back to normal. And then once they bring it up again in the future, we can say, "Oh yeah, you tried it didn't work. We're back to normal now." I think that's it.
I think we're heading that way. I think a lot more people are willing to stand up now and say, "No, enough's enough.
Yeah,
I'm done with this crap."
Yeah,
and and we're seeing more and more people stand up and say this now. I think people are becoming less afraid of the hate that comes along with it. More and more people every day you go online, have a look. You'll see more and more people just calling out this woke nonsense.
I saw today actually from Noel Gallagher from Oasis.
Yeah.
And he called Sam Smith a fucking idiot because what he did. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what people are doing, is just kind of stand up now and saying these things just because it is ridiculous.
I mean, look at us, we're here. We're talking about it now. Although, to be fair, at the beginning, you were like, I don't want to touch any of these controversial topics.
This is true. 3 weeks ago, I said, there's no way I'm talking about it. And now it's number one in our subject list.
You can't help it. Every time you look at Twitter, you get angrier and angrier.
I do. I rage. It's just unavoidable now as well. It's just really... So, yeah, it's out of control. Well, It's not out of control. It's reining itself in slowly.
It's not out of control. It's completely out of control.
From their side, yeah.
You need to look at something like college campuses and stuff like that. It's just ludicrous now what they're teaching.
Yeah.
And the inclusion and diversity programs, you don't learn anything at university anymore other than inclusion and diversity and how your feelings should matter to everyone.
That's a minefield in itself.
We've moved away from facts. We don't teach facts anymore. Now we teach your feelings matter. And if you feel it strongly enough, you could change the facts.
Yeah.
And on that note, I did actually see another university had posted that they're, I can't remember the name of it now, but I should do, because when I read it, I was like, yes, that's right. They know there's far too many left-wing people as teachers, lecturers, professors. So they've banned the asking about political beliefs for hiring purposes.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
So hopefully that will start hiring some more people a bit more to the right. Unfortunately, I would never have considered myself left or right. I've always considered myself a realist, so I guess that's more liberal or a sort of middle ground.
Have you seen your stuff on previous podcasts?
To me, that's normal. I don't understand the people that obviously everyone's got different interpretations of things, but how someone can get to the point where you can go, well, if I feel like this, then it has to be a fact. That's where we are.
I believe there's another word for that, isn't there?
Delusional.
Yeah, damn it, you stole my word.
Maybe delusional, but the government pandering to it. All the institutions are pandering to it because they're all scared of getting banned or cancelled.
The government shouldn't care because they're an independent body that actually just make the laws and run the country. Well, that's what they should do.
Well, they do. We had what's her name in Scotland? Sturgeon. Yeah.
She stepped down.
I think she was pushed down. To be honest.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Off the back of that bill.
Yeah.
Where we spoke about it last week, where they tried to introduce to make it a lot easier to change your sex. You basically just go up and say, "No, I'm a woman now, and you're legally a woman." I think they were shortening the time that you had to live as that from 6 months, years, or whatever it was, down to a couple of months. You go and register, say, "I'm a woman now," and a couple of months later, you're officially a woman. And they were removing loads of the, you have to have gender dysphoria and all this. You've got a doctor's note and things like that. They were taking it all out just so people can just go and say, "I'm a woman now." 2 months later, you're legally a woman, or vice versa. A woman wanting to be a man, 2 months later she's a man.
Does that mean then that women who what's it called, change their sex to a man, do they have to get prostate exams with their boy?
Can't say stuff like that, Fat Boy. It's transphobic.
What? It's a genuine question. If you want to be a man, this is what comes with it.
No, because they don't have a prostate, do they? I know they do.
There you go. See,
I don't know. I don't know that much about anatomy. All I know is they haven't got a swinging.
Oh my! You can't say that.
What, a swinging? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I was watching. Who's it?
This is what I mean. But this is a minefield that you put yourself in.
Is it Jimmy Carr or Bill Burr? I can't remember who was the comedian. They're saying they're all for it. They're all for trans and all this sort of stuff. And he says, what I'm saying is meet me halfway. Get rid of the freaking dick.
Yeah, I don't know. Because then you sort of trip over yourself trying to work out what's what and what's right and what you should and shouldn't do and blah blah blah. And it shouldn't be like that at all.
Well, I say it opens up all of the women in men's sports,
Which
men in women's sports. Sorry, men in women's changing rooms, lockers.
Which thankfully for the Olympics they reversed decisions.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have never done it in the first place. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those things that they try it and go, well, we tried it, it didn't work.
Well, there was that rapist, wasn't there, in Scotland, and he raped 2 women. Turned up to court and said, "I'm now a woman," and they supported him, put him into a women's prison.
What? That's insane.
I think he was taken out again, but even his ex-wife turned around and said, "This is bollocks."
Yeah,
he's just making it up because he wants to go and have an easy prison.
Well, yeah. I mean, people do anything, wouldn't they? So for an easier life. Yeah. Ridiculous.
And you probably can't tell, but I'm shivering like mad because its temperature's plummeted again. We're approaching 0 again out here.
And we're only in the
Bloody
UK,
cold.
in the south of the UK as well.
Okay, shall we move on from the woke offender to everything? I'm sure there's a lot more there that we could talk about in this year.
What's ironic about this is there's probably going to be, if this was caught a wider audience, there's going to be a lot of people that are offended by it anyway. So we're actually ironically stating,
well, because we haven't got any followers yet, really. Only a few. There's a couple.
Yeah.
No one's going to hear it anyway, so we're good.
I guess so. Yeah.
Until 10 months down the line, a year down the line, when we've got quite a number of followers, and then they go back to his old podcast,
which is ironically what you wanted them to do in the first place.
Well, you know how I see it. If you get haters, they share their stuff and say, "Oh, look at this, hate it," and everyone comes along and jumps in.
Yeah.
And we'll get viewers from it.
Yeah.
Because there's enough people on the right that say, "Well, if all the left are hating it that much, or the woke are hating it that much, it must be good.
Yeah,
better go and watch it."
Yeah, I mean, it's a sound plan.
It's not a plan. Yeah, I like a good fight as well. So.
Argument, not fight.
Verbal fight.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Just clarify that one. So yeah, that's my views.
We probably should have researched a bit more before we started.
Well, this is what I was thinking. Well, no, I did loads of research.
There are a lot of topics that we could fit into that woke category.
There is, but I think because we're also outside of that technical circle. I mean, even if we did research, we don't have an insight into it itself. If that makes sense.
Well, yeah, that's what doing research does. It gives you insight into
No. But living in the world where you're trying to talk about the subject is a lot better. Like, experience with it is a lot better than sort of reading some facts.
I do not want to live in that world.
That's my point.
Well, that's dark. You're saying we can't speak about it because we don't live in that world. I'm saying, well,
no.
I don't want to speak about it.
I'm not saying
I'm
we
not
can't
live in that world.
I'm not saying we can't speak about it. I'm just saying having an insight would enable you to be able to have a proper discussion about it and have both views on every side. Rather than just research.
Yeah, but I know what the views of the other side are, and they're nonsense.
Let's move on.
When I say the other side, I mean the far left, the complete woke.
Yeah.
Who are going to fail at everything in life.
Okay, now you're just doing it on purpose.
Well, unless they become inclusivity and diversity people, because that's all they know.
What do you mean?
Well, that's what the woke's teaching them. Everything's about inclusivity and diversity, and that's all they're taught.
Yeah.
Mostly in relation to trans issues.
Yeah. I can't even say it.
I'm not even going to try.
No.
I've got to finish at the T, I think. LGBTQ IA plus.
Is it IA plus now?
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah. Somebody tell us.
I don't know why I need to go beyond LGB. Certainly didn't need to go beyond LGBTQ.
No.
What's the plus? Anything else you want?
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't gay the same as lesbian? It's kind of a broad term, right?
Yeah, but men, it's the men tend to refer to themselves as gay. The women refer to themselves as lesbian. So to be inclusive,
you have to have the lesbian as well.
You have the lesbian because that refers specifically to the females. Now, yes, gay technically applies to them all, but it's generally used for men. I'm
surprised they're not fighting over which letters come first. in the in the thing, because
Who's more important?
surely they'd be more equally offended. Everyone after L would be equally offended, right?
It's funny to say about being offended and stuff. Now I know a lot of the LGB community want to be disassociated with the TQ plus community. So there's a bit of issues there because they don't want to be lumped in with all of them.
Well, I mean, they don't make a fuss like the other side do they?
Well, I've seen a couple of videos saying, please stop lumping us in with them. Can we just go back to LGB?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Take off the TQ plus, TQIA, whatever plus, make it something different.
Yeah. That's. I mean.
Okay, enough waffle. We spoke a lot and covered nothing there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know. We haven't covered nothing, but what's the next one?
Slow tech evolution. So this is a topic that we see in the news, especially if you watch any of the tech news. These miraculous possible inventions that are coming along. Well, not just inventions, technology. So it could be biology, physics, engineering, whatever it is. You hear about it, and then everyone's like, "Oh, that would be amazing," and it's gone.
Yeah.
You do not hear about it again, or if you do, it's 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
And then it's a major breakthrough 10 years down the line. It's like, well, this was announced 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example.
I've got one as well. Go on.
So they've now been able to, so they claim, scientists are claiming, they can reverse aging in mice.
Oh, yes.
They've tried it on a lot of different cells,
heard this,
and it would work on human cells.
Yeah.
Which means you can reverse the aging by up to, I think it was 57% they could reverse aging by.
If I remember rightly, the younger you are, the more you can, the better it works or something.
I don't remember, but essentially there was the two theories. One is the cells are breaking down and they don't work anymore. Essentially your cells slowly die over time and they don't function anymore. And the other one is they basically forget how to operate. So you can reboot them and they remember how to operate again.
Okay.
So when they remember how to operate again, your skin tightens, you look healthier, things like that. So you can, they essentially make you like you were 50%, 57% of your age ago.
Right, that's pretty good. But nothing since.
Well, that's fairly recent.
Yeah.
But I expect we'll never hear anything again until 10 years down the line. And that's probably why in something like that, because you obviously need to do more trials, and it takes a long time to go from trials on mice to go into
to humans
or commercially available. Let's go and de-age you. It doesn't. They're not going to do brains and stuff like that, I don't think. But
why don't we have mad scientists? Why can't they? I mean, they would be crazy enough to actually just inject it into humans and go, "Yeah, I'll do."
I've got to say, I think that for all the scientists you see in the US and UK and Germany, places like that, I always wondered, for those scientists, when they do a breakthrough like that, there's got to be a scientific black site somewhere.
What, doing all this research? Doing
research into these things that would be considered unethical. You got yourself get a little island somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Out in the sea, very small island, a few miles in size. Surely there's some super rich funding, some really, really
dodgy experiments.
I won't even go so as far as saying dodgy experiments, but stuff that could be illegal. Let's talk about cloning, for example.
I knew that would be what you'd bring up. Dolly the sheep was the last thing I heard about that.
Yeah, cloning kind of disappeared, didn't it? It was like, oh, big breakthrough, and it's like, oh, it's unethical. No, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's unethical, you can't do it anymore? How much do you want to bet there's scientists trying to bring back dinosaurs somewhere in a black site just to see if they can do it?
Probably. This would be Jurassic Park all over again, wouldn't
it? The difficulty was finding viable cells, is it? Whatever it was. There's something it wasn't quite viable.
DNA they were trying to find.
Yeah, viable DNA, that's what they were looking for.
Because it basically in the process of them being fossilized, it destroys most of the DNA cells or DNA proteins.
Yeah, but I believe they found something up in the ice, and they said, I remember reading an article, I can't remember if it was a dinosaur or if it was just a mammoth. They said they had viable DNA.
Yeah.
Well, no, because the
mammoth
DNA was different from the one I'm thinking of, because the mammoth DNA, they couldn't just create a mammoth. They'd have to create a mammoth elephant hybrid.
Right. Yes.
But no, I'm sure I saw something else about dinosaurs. I'm pretty sure it was dinosaurs. They found viable DNA.
Interesting.
So I reckon that's off at a black site somewhere, and someone's trying to create a dinosaur.
Thing is, right. So this is what I always wondered about Jurassic Park. Right. It's generally a bad idea to do it on Earth because they'll just literally eat everyone. Right. As we saw in most of the films. So why would they? I mean, it's quite expensive to do it in space.
Well, hold on. You're assuming that they're going to start with a T-Rex or a
Wouldn't you?
Bronchosaurus or something. No, I'd start with one of the little chicken-size dinosaurs.
Did you watch Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I know. If you got a pack of them, don't make a pack of them. Make one.
Yeah, I mean,
what's going to do? Come and start boycotting you. You just stamp on it and it's gone. It's crushed. I'd be interested to know what they taste like. Cook one up. Does it taste like a chicken? You can replace chickens with them. Because then the foxes aren't going to get anywhere when they come to try and eat your chickens, are they?
No.
They're going to come and find these little dinosaurs that are just going to eat the foxes. Problem solved.
Yeah, I guess.
They'll try and eat the farmers as well, but that's not the point.
And try and eat their way out of the farm. But, like...
We've digressed from tech evolution. But what was your example, Liam, you're going to bring up?
Nowhere near as exciting as that. No, this was about a material that I heard ages ago called what was it called? I think it was called magnesium silicon carbide. I think it was. Okay. And what it was something like 10 times stronger than titanium or a titanium alloy, and twice as light. Right. And they were like, this is amazing. This can revolutionize space industry, cars, all this sort of stuff because fuel economy, all that sort of stuff. And this was maybe mid to late 2015, 2016, something like that, like 2000 periods. Heard nothing about it since. No development, nothing. It was quite hard to make, which obviously is a fair point, but I have not heard anything about it. Like they've tried it in something, they've built a useful thing out of it. It's just disappeared.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, isn't it? I mean, you won't hear about it again until they can make it cost effectively, or it's actually going into use, and it's just used in super specialised circumstances because it's so expensive, and you're just not going to see it in everyday use. But really, this topic was more about let's talk about flying cars.
Yes. Okay.
How long have we had flying cars now? It's well over a decade.
More than that, I remember reading about the Mola Sky Car in 2005. I think it was
2005. Yeah, I don't remember the years merged together, but I remember when it first came out. Now you still occasionally see stuff about flying cars, or more recently, it's flying motorbikes. They're essentially just quadricopters with a seat, which will work perfectly fine. The problem is they're never going to happen.
No.
Do you know why?
Health and safety.
Health and safety. You're right. Health and safety gone nuts.
Yeah.
It's the biggest hindrance to technology. It's health and safety, or consumer technology, I should say.
If they had, let's say, air highways, right? So designated areas where traffic could flow, right? Surely that would be more safe. That would be just fine. That'd be safer.
Well, the problem is they can't brake like a car. Although quadricopters can. They're pretty good at braking and veering and stuff like that.
But as long as you have takeoff and landing, elevated, so that they're not landing in cities and on roads and stuff, surely that'd be fine. This
is it now, right? So you look at the motorbike quadricopters.
Yeah.
So they don't have the same hindrances that flying cars had, because flying cars, it was the takeoff. You had to have a runway to take off and land, and you were talking about, I think we mentioned it in a previous episode, on ramps, off ramps you'd have to have for flying cars and stuff like that.
No, that was our late night conversation.
Was that just a conversation we had? Okay. So what we talk about on this show, by the way, is pretty much the conversations we have anyway. So
pretty much, yeah.
So so they can take off and land vertically, no problem at all. So there's no reason at all to be concerned. You don't need the infrastructure because they can take off and land pretty much anywhere. They're no bigger than the car. They can land in a car parking space, no problem at all. Now the issue is if they fall out of the sky.
Yes,
they're too big and heavy. They fall out of the sky. They land on people.
But this is the point, right? In that we have, this is my point about tech evolution, is that we have the ability to program and lock it down in a way that can basically look at all those statistics and say, right, if your car weighs this much and you want to fly this distance, you can only fly this distance, don't take off, or, whatever it might be.
A lot of it's about engine failure as well. Now, that's the great thing about quadricopters. Quite often, they can lose an engine. Some of them can lose two engines, as long as they're not
same
as
side.
long as they're diagonals.
Yeah.
Then it will still fly. It will still be able to land, I should say. And then you've also got the ones that got 6 or 8 engines. Well, I should stop saying engines and say motors. They have 6 or 8 motors, so it doesn't matter. They can lose like 3 or 4 of them and then still land. So that kind of excuse is now gone. So really, all we're left with is security.
Yeah.
They don't want people flying into secure areas.
Well, make it automated. We have the tech for that as well now. Kind of like a sat nav that is for your quadricopter.
You always have to be able to take manual control.
Okay, yeah, fine. So that what's it called? Functionality should exist in the case of emergency, but automatically you just go, right, this is where I want to go.
That's crap. You just took all the fun out of it. I'm not interested in it anymore.
I wasn't for you. It wasn't for you to be interested. It was for you to get it off. It was to get it off the ground, literally. But yeah,
no, they should have designated areas, and you should get warnings if you cross designated areas.
Yeah,
go outside of the designated areas.
Populated city areas or something.
Yeah. No flying over heavily populated areas, but maybe you can fly over the roadways.
Yeah.
Don't fly over, housing estates, but you can fly all over the roadways.
The trouble with that, especially in the UK, is everywhere is being built up to be houses and things, isn't it now? We have a lot of land still, but...
This is true. But the other thing is, they're not even that noisy. Quadricopters, they are quite noisy, but no more than a revving car, really. If you park a Lambo and start your Lambo up, it's more noisy than the quadricopter.
It is, but the Lambo, once it's going, is quieter. The quadricopters tend to be loud regardless, constantly. When you're cruising along at 200, 108,
you're not going to be doing those sort of
speeds.
They do like 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, but the noise comes from the engines and from the motors, right? But if you're doing 80 mile an hour Lambo,
no. So this just comes down to.
But if you're doing 80 mile an hour Lambo, it'd be quiet.
80 mile an hour Lambo isn't particularly quiet. But it depends what gear you're in, I suppose.
5th gear.
You're still in 2nd gear at that point.
Well, yeah, true. All right, 120 then. 3rd.
But no, that comes down to the propeller design. There are plenty of ways to silent or certainly highly reduce the amount of noise that they make.
Yeah, there is, yeah. Because they were doing some research into that a lot into supersonic planes, aren't they? Again, hypersonic planes.
Well, yeah, they don't use propellers.
Yes, they do. Just not the same ones.
Not conventional propellers. But you just look at PC fans.
Yeah.
You can buy some fans that are near silent, that move the same size, same power, and move just as much airflow as the non-silent ones.
Yeah.
Now, all right, your RPM might be a bit slower on those, although they're still 2,700 RPM fans.
Yeah.
In the PCs. Obviously, you've got to scale that up quite a lot, and you've got to generate a lot more lift. You're going to make more noise, no doubt. But I can't see it being too noisy, especially because it's going to be you're taking off, climbing to what, 50 to 100 foot, 200 foot.
Probably higher than that, yeah. A bit higher than that.
I don't think it would. If you're going to fly over roadways and things like that, you don't really need to go much higher than 100 foot.
I actually think they should be higher, maybe like 500, maybe like 500, 1,000 foot.
That's quite high. It depends where you live as well. I mean, if you've got skyscrapers around, you're a bit in trouble. But that's why you have roadways or lanes that you're allowed in.
Yeah, but if it's that high up, you reduce the noise as well.
Well, you've got reduced noise at 200 foot.
Yeah, but it's right next to you, ish.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm talking in foot. Maybe we should go to meters. Let's say
100 meters.
100 meters. So that's also 300 foot.
That is
320 foot. I don't know, something like that.
Well, 200 meters is is it 10? Hold on.
It's just over 3 foot in a meter.
That's well, if it's 200 meters, that I'm 1% of that height.
100 meters would be 300 foot ish.
Okay.
100 meters is a bloody long way.
Yeah.
You go up 100 meters, and when you're at a sort of height, you look down and go, blimey, that's a long way down.
Yeah, but I don't think it'd be high enough, though, surely. It would be around here, but other places.
It is around where we live, yeah. But no, you'd have to make the rules specific for the area you're in, and that's where you'd set it for the area.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite the same as a speed limit. You get a height band that you're allowed into.
Yeah.
But obviously you can come down anywhere and land. But you'd have to be over a designated landing area, which could be your house or any car parking space in reality.
Do you remember the film Oblivion with Tom Cruise? You ever see that film?
I probably saw it. No, I don't remember it.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, your memory's terrible. I forgot. Basically, they have a very similar UI that basically so they have like zones where they can fly around and stuff, and each bit has its own craft. And as he flies, he has like on his heads-up display, it's just all kind of like coloured in and walled off and says you can't go in there, it's toxic and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they should do things like that.
Same sort of thing, yeah.
Easy, right?
The thing that gets to me, if you look at the Oculus Quest, right? When you go to the boundary in the VR, it sort of gives you a little red room pop-up sort of.
Yeah.
And when you get near it, it's got kind of like a blue grid. If you go through it, it puts a big round hole in it and goes red.
Yeah.
That sort of thing would be great.
Yeah, but the autopilot should steer you away from that as well. So if you manually flew into it...
Well, I don't think it should, because you need to be able to manually override it. Maybe it should be like the auto steering where it nudges it in, but if you push it, it'll go. Because if something's coming straight towards you in the other direction and you need to veer out the way, you do not want an autopilot going, nope, sorry, you're going to have a head-on collision instead because you're not going into the red zone.
Yeah, but there's loads of safety features. Have you ever seen... You remember Demolition Man?
You don't want too many safety features.
Yes,
this
you
is
do.
The problem with
You
the
want
world.
100 of safety features.
This is the problem with the world. There's too many safety features.
You want hundreds of safety features.
Well,
you want a button that you can press to go manual mode, and then you can turn it out of the way. But also, you want on your...
We were lagging a bit there on the recording.
But you also want you want a sensor suite on your craft to warn you against collisions and potentially steer you out the way.
Essentially, what you're advocating for now is cars to have exactly the same thing.
They already are, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't yet.
Most of them do. No, sorry.
No, they don't. They do once you get over 50 grand. Oh, I'm talking about pounds, by the way, not dollars.
Teslas have them.
50 grand.
Not all of them. Some of them are cheaper than that.
Yeah, it's fair. But I like Tesla, but they're not practical for me. They don't do enough. They ain't got enough range. And I'm not sitting for hours to charge, or 45 minutes, how long they take nowadays.
But they have the tech suite in them, and some of the other car manufacturers.
Yeah, but it doesn't force it on you.
It's still avoidance. It still does.
Until you grab the wheel and deliberately put it the other way. It does it until you take control. And that's what I'm saying. You're always going to need that.
Yeah, so why can you not put that in?
But in fact, it could never be anything other than that, because the lawsuits, as soon as someone died and they couldn't take control and move out the way, that's game over for whoever programmed it.
Yeah.
Because the lawsuits would flood in then, and
yeah, probably
it is their fault. This is why you're always going to have a human part to it, unless something's on rails.
Well, yeah, well then it's different.
Because you have to have that control, so that they can always say, well, it's your fault. You're supposed to be paying attention. You're the one who's ultimately in control. What we're offering you is an aid or an assistant, not full control.
But that's the whole point of why this automated stuff is coming in, is because people aren't in control a lot of the times. They fall asleep, they steer into things, they crash on purpose. So these safeguards will put in place to stop that from, or at least reduce that from happening. But
they don't override manual control. I don't know if you've seen it. They start drifting. If you put your hand on the wheel and push it the other way, it turns it off.
You could easily do that with an aircraft, though.
Well, the pilot already does it on an aircraft.
Well, there you go then.
Or until the pilot takes control. This is what I'm saying. You always have to have the option to take control.
What about driverless cars?
Well, we don't have driverless cars running around here yet.
We do. We had a few.
We do. We had some tests going on.
Yeah. And
they were always manned by real people at the other end.
That's because it was a test.
Yeah, it was a test, and to be fair, they may get there and allow driverless cars, but it's going that way. Whose fault's it going to be when it crashes?
Yeah, it could be the car's fault, isn't it?
Well, no, because essentially that means it's the people that made the car.
Not necessarily, no.
Yes, well, unless it's a maintenance thing, but no.
Or but if you have a situation where it physically can't get you out of it and you're going to crash anyway, it's not the car's fault necessarily. Just the same as a human driving.
No, let's just say it drives you off a cliff.
Why the hell would it drive you off a cliff?
Because there was a lorry that was reflective coming the other way and it couldn't see what it was doing. Because that actually happened to a self-driving car in the US and it went off a cliff.
Yeah, but that's the US.
There was a big lorry, it was reflective, and the car drove itself off the cliff because it couldn't see properly.
Were the people inside?
Yes, and they died.
Did
Whose fault is it?
Did the car blow up like in the movies?
I don't know. They don't show that much graphic detail.
No. Whose fault is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's a difficult one.
The
lorry's
driver's fault because the driver is supposed to should have took control. He's supposed to be paying attention.
Why did the lorry have reflective stuff in the first place?
I don't know. I think it was white and the sun was shining or something, and it just looked reflective. I can't remember full details. You can look it up. Anyway, it mistook what it was reading as an image, and I think at the last second when it saw the lorry, it swerved and went off a cliff. So it's the driver's fault because the driver should have been paying attention. Now, if you take away the ability for the driver to do it, then it's automatically the car's fault, which means you can sue that manufacturer, or someone else can because you're dead.
What if you had an automated taxi?
Then it'll be the taxi company's fault if it drives into the cliff. They can then sue the manufacturer of the car or whatever. But it's if you're hiring a service from them, and part of that service is to get you from there to there alive.
Yeah.
And unharmed. If they fail in that, it's their fault.
Yeah. Well, that's the same as any human taxi driver as well.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know what the issue is.
Well, no, because this isn't a taxi. This is you. This is your car.
Yeah.
That you've bought. Now it's driving itself and you're not you. You own the car. Therefore, you're responsible for the car.
Yes, but...
So if the car drives itself off a cliff, it was your fault because you were responsible for that car.
No, it depends on how they class the car. Because they could still class the car as an automated taxi, even though you own it.
No, forget that, because that's not the way cars are going. Cars are going automated for people to buy. Taxi's one thing. You can blame that on the taxi company, and it's down to them whether they sue the manufacturer or not. I'm talking about you buy an automated car. It's now your car. It's fully your responsibility then, is it?
Yeah.
So if it drives you off a cliff, it's your fault.
I mean, I don't think you'd really care because you're dead, but...
No, you might not be dead. It's just broken all of your bones. You're never going to walk again. It's broke your spine. You're going to live the rest of your days in a wheelchair. Your fault, right?
Yes.
Because it was your car.
That's a tricky one.
Why is it tricky?
Because...
It's not your fault. It's the car manufacturer's fault. As long as you've done all the maintenance and everything else you're supposed to have done, it's their fault. They programmed it. They're the ones that made it drive that way. They're the ones that failed in their diligence because it drove off of a cliff.
Yeah, but if you know how if you know how AI works, it doesn't. You don't program it to drive off a cliff in a situation.
Yeah. Therefore, I didn't program it properly if it drove off a cliff.
No, you program it to make decisions in. You basically have decisions in certain scenarios. So you'll have like.
But no. Okay, let's go back.
You'll have multiple things to do in a given situation.
Yep.
Right.
I'm talking about when it's completely avoidable and it just goes off a cliff.
Then, I mean, yeah.
Because whatever, the sun blinded its sensors or, I don't know, it had a glitch.
Glitches are totally possible, yeah.
Faulty RAM.
They'll just shut down.
And go off cliff. So regardless of what happens, all the maintenance has been done.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's your car, you've bought it, your money, it's fully owned by you now.
Yeah.
It goes off a cliff. You're in a wheelchair. Are you happy to take the blame for that?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be you, would it? It'd be the car's fault.
It's your car.
It doesn't matter. Just because you own it doesn't mean that it's, doesn't mean it's you.
But like you were on the other side of this argument a minute ago.
I know, but I like to change sides.
So here's my point. Which means every time there's an accident, it's going to be on the car manufacturer.
No, not necessarily the manufacturer. That's what insurance would be for. This is what the insurance companies will do.
Insurance pays out when you're not at fault. Or if you're at fault, they'll pay out to you, yes.
Yeah.
But insurance companies only do that if they can't get somebody else's insurance to pay for it.
Yeah.
Insurance company isn't going to pay out just because your car goes off a cliff.
then I don't know, it'll have to be a separate policy, wouldn't it? You have to insure your car as well.
Well, let's say the insurance probably does pay out. Insurance does pay out. Yeah, there you go. There's the price of your car, and you've got 20 grand for your medical bills. There you go, because that was the maximum your policy enabled.
Yeah.
You're in a wheelchair the rest of your life. You can't move anything below your neck. You're breathing through a bag.
Yeah. That's life. That's probably what will
No,
happen.
but I'm saying you accept that's your fault.
You'll have to. You'll have no choice.
No, you will have a choice, because what's going to happen is there'll always be that option for manual control, and you're supposed to pay attention to the road. You're supposed to pay attention to what's going on, so you can take control if something goes wrong. Therefore, it can always be your fault. That's the way it will go.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Anyway, tech evolution slowdown. Anything else we want to cover on that?
It's the car's fault.
But not the manufacturer of the car, no.
So, no,
just the car. Sue the car, yeah?
Yeah.
But it's your car, so you've got to pay for any of its expenses.
Yeah. No. Oh, bollocks, yeah. So my thinking was kind of like, I think towards the gap in, I mean, this is quite arbitrary, but like, let's say you take a sci-fi program like Star Trek or you know, something that has touchscreen controls. Perfectly doable nowadays. We've had touchscreens for years. We've had nice, like, big panels as well. Easily can control stuff, you know, that we need to. Why does it not happen? Why are still people making things with switches and things that can break?
Quite easy answer for that.
Is it?
No one needs it.
It doesn't matter.
They've built them. No one wants them.
Why? I mean, you see it.
What are you going to do with it?
I don't know. It just looks nice. Do you know what I did see? Do you know what I did see the other day though? The world's first touchscreen toaster.
Oh, I saw that about 3 years ago.
Okay, well then they said the world's first touchscreen toaster.
Well, there was a toaster that came out a long time ago, which you touch the screen to decide how you want your toast, what kind of toast you want. You can even have different pictures in your toast.
Oh no, this one was what color you want it, and what bread you had.
Yeah, that's been around for years.
Well then, all right, there you go. You see, this is my point. This is your point actually as well. When something was invented, disappears for years, and then they get reinvented as the first ever.
No, it was a released product years ago.
Yeah, but then someone has tried to. Well, that's what I'm
saying. It's hit the consumer market.
Somebody has.
It's a £500 toaster.
Re-released that idea.
£500 to make toast, people. Just let us think in.
As a first idea again.
What's that? $650 US?
I don't know. It's a bit crap against the pound now, isn't it? At the moment.
About $600 then, maybe.
Yeah.
$600 for a toaster. Quick, everyone rush out and buy it.
This one was.
But it'll do the toast how you want it.
120 something pounds.
My cheap 20 quid toaster makes it how I want it. I push the button, it pops out, and I go, yeah, that's right. Well, that needs a bit more. I'll push it back down again.
But no, my point was literally, you know, and to an extent, like Tesla have done it with their cars as well, where they've got panels that have, you know, various dials and things on it, that touchscreen.
I don't want a non-tactile button. I want a button.
I know, yeah, you're very old school.
I want switches.
And in fact,
nothing looks better than loads of toggle switches.
No.
Thinking about Top Gun, they sit there flicking all the toggles up. Amazing.
Very
touchscreen. Yeah, give me loads of toggle switches.
There's
not enough toggle switches.
Would this surprise you that ever since I've known you and I've had this conversation, which was over 15 years ago, I think it was now, that's just enraged me, your answer.
What, toggle switches?
Yeah, every time we had this conversation over the years.
I love toggle switches.
Over the years, your answers have just enraged me. Like, why? Just have touchscreens.
I don't want a touchscreen. And screens always freeze as well. They're crap.
That's when you got crap hardware.
Which is pretty much all of it. Because it's all consumer grade.
Yeah.
Which means it's made as cheap as possible.
Yeah, that's the other thing that bugs me as well. Let's make this nice, like, slick device or whatever it is, and then put the cheapest hardware in it so it looks really shitty and works really crap. Why? Keep costs down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
because people won't buy it otherwise because it's too expensive.
Yeah, but then it looks.
And you're asking why you haven't got all these big surround screens? Oh, because they cost you about $5,000.
Well, yeah, they do now. But if everyone bought one,
so you're going to buy a $10,000 car with a $5,000 screen in it. Then when the screen stops working, you've got nothing.
$10,000 car is a bit optimistic.
All right, yeah. A little bit.
Unless you're buying a Micra, I don't think it.
I don't think you can get a Micra for $10,000, would you?
No, I don't think so.
It's about $13,000 now.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, so that was my point. It's perfectly doable. In fact, I may embark on a project to do it myself.
I remember when the Volkswagen Golf was 10 grand.
Oh yes, and they were advertising that. Yeah.
It was like 22 grand now, isn't it?
Oh, it's
16 grand for the cheapest or something like that.
yeah, but they put loads of crap in it, so bump up the price. But yeah.
Okay. Are we done on tech evolution? The problem is health and safety.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And that needs to be, I don't think it necessarily needs to be relaxed. I think it needs to be adjusted to cope with the future.
Yeah, they need someone that's forward thinking to be in charge of these sort of policies.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's look at putting sky roads in. You know, just saying designating roadways. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Like over motorways, fine, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Down A roads and B roads, yep, no problem at all. And from there into an estate just to land. Fine. At your residence.
But the sky roads don't even. This is what the sky roads don't even have to like follow normal roads. They could crisscross and fly over. Because the more you're flying over a road, the more likely it is that it could crash out of the air onto a car. So you technically don't want it to go over roads.
No, because if you're going to say there's quite likely to crash into a car, then it's quite likely to crash into a person or a building or anything else. In which case, it's a big no, and you've just killed the idea. Let's be honest. Do you think the chance are higher that a car is going to fall out of the sky and crash into another car, or another car next to you on the road is going to pull into you?
Right now, it's the next car in the road.
I nearly got crushed by a lorry the other day.
Then you got hit by another car as well.
I actually I was going to get my dash cam footage off to send it to the lorry company because it has a sticker on the back saying, you know, how am I driving, and it had a number and a website.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to send that bloody footage in. He must have been an inch off my bumper when he pulled in.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah.
Did you send it in?
No, I was too lazy to get out of the car, wasn't I?
Oh my god. And that is why health and safety won't work.
Well, I thought, what's the point? Just going to get someone in trouble. All right, it was being a bit of a douche, but
do you know what I saw? Why must have been last year. Very similar to you, lorry going round a roundabout, which I don't.
Wasn't a roundabout.
Oh.
I was just taking it nice and easy on the drive to work.
Oh, okay.
I just had the cruise control on, sat at 60 in slow lane. Lorry was doing about 60.1 mile an hour. 10 minutes after it's trying to pass me, it pulls in. Literally, it must have been. It was no more than an inch from the bumper. I thought it had hit me.
Yeah. I
really did, because it was. I'm like, how did that not just freaking hit me? It was that close, and I can pretty much see the front of my car.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been more than an inch or 2 inches in front of me. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Well, no. So this one.
So of course I overtook him and then dropped back to 60 just because I'm a bastard like that.
Of course you are. Yeah. Did you give him the finger as well?
No.
Why not?
No. I just let him start overtaking me again for another 10 minutes.
just inching the accelerator a little bit, just going yeah. No, this one.
No, actually, I stayed. I overtook him pretty slowly, actually, at about 62, and I just left it at 62.
Oh, okay.
But he caught me up on a downhill a little while later. He didn't pass me again. But it's those sort of things when people act like complete bastards like that, put it in like that. You just want to go in front of them and slow right down. But I don't, because that would be my fault if he drove into me. So.
Well, yeah. Well, this one, it was going around the roundabout, and it was a car next to him. And he decides, rather than go in the right lane, in the correct lane to go straight on, he would just cut across the roundabout like most people do. And then his car was also next to him. And I literally just saw the car get smashed by the lorry and then just go over the roundabout. And he just stopped, and I was like...
That's all right, yeah. But if you're a car and you're putting on the inside of a lorry who's going straight on... Yeah. I'm always very careful. Yeah. Or very quick in those circumstances.
Yeah, and if you see the people, if you're behind those people that are going on the inside, every single time, without fail, you see their brake lights come on and they just slow down because they're like, I'm not doing it. It's like, okay.
As the gap closes up between the lorry and the roundabout, you think, I'm just going to slow right down here, let the lorry get past me. Or I'm going to put my foot down and get out in front of it.
Yeah, you're not going to win that that one.
Yeah. I was going to say something else, but it's gone already. Whatever.
Brilliant.
Moving on.
Nuclear power.
Oh, no, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, God.
I can't remember if it's France or Germany, but one of those countries, the police there, in unmarked cars, deliberately pull in front of lorries quite close.
Yeah.
Because the lorry driver legally has to slow down to increase the distance.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they pull in front of them with not enough space,
Yeah.
just to see if the lorries will slow down.
Wow.
Um,
It's terrible.
well, no, that's how you test to make sure that they're following the law.
Okay.
It's an intentional thing. They're not right on their bumper, but they have to keep like at least another lorry's length or whatever it is. So they'll pull in like a car's length in front of them, and then the lorry has to slow down, and then make sure it does it, and then go on again. If it doesn't, they pull it over.
It's probably France.
Wouldn't surprise me.
If anything.
But
Yeah, right, wow.
nuclear power, energy crisis, global warming, kind of 3 topics in one.
Yeah.
Purely because you wanted to talk about nuclear power, and I thought just talking about nuclear power alone isn't.
Well, I did lump it in with fusion, but you said no.
Yeah, it's a bit too techie, I think.
Well, no, my thing. My plan wasn't to talk about how it works. It was to talk about whether it's viable.
Well, it's not right now.
But yeah, well, is it the future? Is there?
Well, it could be the future. I don't think so. But nuclear power.
But there's nothing to replace it. That was my point.
We're in an energy crisis.
Yeah.
Right now. Nuclear power isn't the solution right now.
It takes too long.
7 years to get a nuclear power plant online, and that's if you rush it.
2 decades average.
Yeah, I mean, there's a smaller reactors now that they can build, which can do it. They're the size of a container on a lorry, but they take 7 years to make. So even if you started making those, you'd be hard pushed to get it in this decade.
Yeah.
So nuclear power is not the immediate solution.
No, but that doesn't mean we should stop.
No,
building.
we should definitely be building them.
We should be building more and more.
I think if this energy crisis has shown anything, it says they need to stop being reliant on Russia.
Yes.
Who on earth thought it was a good idea in the first place?
Everything should be done in-house. Everything.
So people just say, oh, look, that price is cheap. Let's get that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But that's how we order everything from China, isn't it? So cheap.
No, that's absolutely fine.
No, it's not.
It is fine. All the cheap stuff from China. It doesn't get rid of the good, high-quality stuff.
Okay.
It's good to have options. Like, I bought a DeWalt drill a little while ago, which is a really good drill. But I've also got a couple of, you can see 2 drills there, a couple of cheap Chinese drills.
Yeah.
I say cheap Chinese drills. They may not be China, but they're China, Malaysia, Mexico, whatever.
Yeah.
Cheap. And my go-to drill is that cheap drill.
Because you don't want to ruin the expensive one, or?
No, because it's relatively small, it's light,
Yeah.
it works, and it works for 90% of the applications I'm going to use it for.
There you go.
I have no reason to get the other one out. There's in this nice case and everything else. I've got one I can just chuck around and leave laying about.
Fair enough.
I like having the options of getting something good out or just using a piece of junk. I call it a piece of junk. It's a great drill.
Yeah.
But
back to power.
Energy crisis, yeah.
So, yeah,
You
absolutely.
need to be energy independent. Nuclear power is the way to go.
Building more nuclear power. A lot of people are concerned, and I think this is still a thing, and I don't know why, but a lot of people are concerned that it may not be safe, even though, as in like disposing of nuclear rods, things like that, meltdowns, all that sort of stuff.
Well, when you say safe, it's a relative, isn't it?
It is
I
relative.
don't want a nuclear power plant built next door.
No.
And nor does anyone.
No. But you won't be irradiated.
No, but no one wants the nuclear power plant next door.
No, of course they don't. But
Unless they're going to give me free power, then I might be up for it.
anyone within 20 square kilometers or 12 square miles can get free power. That'd be quite handy.
Yeah. So they have to find places to put it, which means you're looking for more remote places.
Yes.
The problem is you can't put them too remote because you've got to carry that power, and every meter you're carrying that power is a loss of power.
Yes.
You want the power station close to where it's providing power to.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more complex than just saying yes, it's the future, but it is.
Yeah. Unless we can crack fusion, at which point, because fusion is a relatively clean source of energy. A lot of people misconception about fusion is that it's clean energy. It's not. There's still nuclear fallout or radioactive fallout, shall I say, from it. But it's more viable. It's a lot cleaner than
Well,
fission power.
it's like these nuclear batteries you can get now.
Mm-hmm.
When I say nuclear batteries, they're made from nuclear waste.
Yeah.
So they can make batteries like AA batteries sort of size, and they last 1,000 years as a battery.
Mm.
Now they're not very good. They put out very little power, but they'll power a clock. You know, your clock you've got on your wall in your house.
Yeah.
You'll never need to replace the battery ever again.
Yeah. That's
and there are a lot of applications where you could use those sort of batteries. Or all right, there's risks of people taking all of these batteries and turning them into dirty bombs and crap.
Well,
but the radiation level is so low, it's not.
I remember a case a while ago. I can't remember the kid's name, but he was a bit batshit crazy, and he basically stole. You know, remember when smoke alarms had radon in them? Is it radium, whatever it is?
No, I can't remember. I know they got a radioactive.
Yeah. So he went, and it was only a really tiny amount. So he basically gathered from hundreds of different places, made himself a nuclear reactor, but irradiated his neighbors within, I think it was like 100 meters from where he made it. He didn't actually die of radiation poisoning, though. He died something like 40 years later of alcohol poisoning, which I thought was quite interesting.
Well, a funny story on talking about smoke alarms.
Yeah.
At B&Q, which is guess like Home Depot from the US in the UK. They had an inspection from the health and safety agencies in the UK, and they had too many smoke alarms in storage in their hub.
Oh, yeah.
You're only allowed to keep a certain amount of them together because of the total amount of radiation from them. So they ended up putting they had these 20 £20 smoke alarms that they were selling for like £2.
Yeah.
And every store had like thousands of pallets of them just quickly shoved in and selling them for £2 just to get rid of them.
Oh dear.
That's quite funny.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's not going to be. Is that you? That's you. It's not going to be. Because like you say, you're saying people will use it to make dirty bombs. It's nowhere near enough to make one.
No, but I'm saying if they're off-the-shelf batteries, you could just go and buy from a local store.
Yeah.
You pick up a few thousand of them, and you're.
It's possible, yeah.
Well, it depends. I don't know how radioactive they are. All I know is that they can make these little batteries from them that. Will last 1,000 years. About very little power, but where it's enough permanently.
I mean, you could have a small bank of them that provides heat for your house, couldn't you?
No, it wouldn't provide heat. It's not enough power. I'm talking it provides it's 1.2 volts, but it's like 2 milliamps maximum. It's not very low power. Very low power.
Oh, so it's
literally enough power to run a clock, and that's it.
Okay.
Or like one LED or something like that.
It's like 20 milliwatts.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Now, you could just keep buying them and add them to a bank till you fill the garage with them and stuff. But again, you're back to the same problem you have with the smoke alarms. How many are you allowed to have? Now, they're self-shielded, so it shouldn't really be an issue.
It should be fine, yeah.
But is there a limit on the amount of radioactive material you can have?
I don't think you can have any.
What happens if you can have radioactive material? Yeah, just not the highly radioactive materials. There's plenty of materials. Bananas are radioactive.
Oh yeah, true. There's thorium just littered over beaches as well.
Yeah, and you've also got all the radon gas that comes out the ground all over the place. That's what gives you the background radiation in most places. And we're getting too much into the weeds and technical crap. Let's move on.
Anyway, is it's needed for addressing the energy crisis, I think, but in the meantime,
go on, say it. Turn the coal plants back on.
No, but you can't really, because yes, okay, we need to sort of burn coal to provide more energy in the immediate time now. It's just going to increase the what's it called?
Greenhouse gases.
Yeah, the global warming crisis even more until.
So is the answer solar panels? I can tell you the answer is not solar panels.
No, it's not solar panels because they have an even bigger carbon
It can be solar panels in those countries where it's nice, like you've got California and Florida or whatever, places like that. You know, certainly there was a lot of solar stuff going on in Nevada desert.
Yeah.
Perfect. Big, massive, empty spaces.
Yeah.
Perfect places to put up giant solar farms.
Which they have.
And they're actually worth it. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is the carbon cost of making a solar panel.
Oh, it's massive.
And if you assume it's got a life of 20 years, if you put it in the UK, you're not recouping that carbon loss.
No. Just adding to it.
Versus the amount of power you get from it over time.
The biggest misconception, like you say, is thinking that solar power is green energy. It's really not.
It's once they're made, it's done. And if you could make it from recycled materials, even then, making something from recycled materials, it uses a lot. Because you're burning power, and there's different processes where you're heating, melting, smelting. You're creating a lot of CO2.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's somewhere hot, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Somewhere you get a lot of sun, a lot of heat, it's worth it. Now, if there's an excess of solar panels on the market and they're not doing anything, they've already been made, great, stick them on your roof in the UK.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I looked at solar panels. I'm not concerned too much about the greenhouse gases. I'm more concerned about the rising price of energy.
Electricity, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a no-go on my roof. My roof's oddly shaped, and they can't fit enough panels.
What?
In place, so I'd have
sucks.
to. Well, they can put it on, but I can only have a few panels,
which isn't really.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah. So then the alternative is wind power.
So wind power. Let's go on to wind power. So the wind turbines, they don't start working until your winds get up to like 6-7 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're powered as well.
And then they break them. As in, they put a stop on and stop them if it gets over something like 18 miles an hour.
Right.
Because the forces are too high and it breaks them, so they have to lock them. So they've got a very narrow window where they actually run. Now, thankfully in the UK, that window's about perfect for us.
Yes.
However, the maintenance costs are ludicrous.
Yeah.
So the onshore one's not too bad.
You can get to them
they're
as well.
worth it. The onshore ones, the ones we have on all our hills around and stuff like that, they're pretty much worth it. Although, if you look at them, whenever I see a group of 10 or something, there's always at least one that's broken.
Yeah.
But now they're building the largest offshore wind farm.
Yeah.
Is it Scotland or Wales? I can't remember.
I can't remember now.
It's off of Scotland or Wales anyway. It's the biggest offshore wind farm.
Mm-hmm.
Saltwater.
It's the fastest. It's
moving parts, electrics.
That's the fastest way to corrode something, isn't it?
And the cost to get out there to fix anything.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
Well, if they used, this is probably not viable, but if they use titanium, it doesn't corrode. But it's going to be very expensive. Maybe titanium alloy, but
yeah, no. You want traditional materials.
So then,
they work. They're proven. And to be honest, we've got some wind farms off the southern coast of the UK as well, and I think they do all right.
I mean,
they generate a reasonable amount of power.
They're not worth it. That's a double negative. They're worth it.
Yes,
I think,
but
especially in this
you've got
country.
high maintenance cost.
Yeah.
Don't give me. So once they're up and running, as long as they're in service long enough without breaking, they become pretty green, I think. The issue is in servicing them and the upkeep cost. It doesn't produce cheap power.
No, which is everyone thinks it does.
Or
not everyone. That's the wrong term. Yeah, so then the third option is hydropower.
Same issue again.
But we're situated in the perfect place since we're surrounded by it. Water, that is.
Tidal power you're looking at.
Yeah, that's what hydropower is, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a form of hydropower. But it's nothing what is it, Norway or one of those countries where they generate so much power from it because they've got so many rivers and things like that. They can put little turbines in the rivers and get.
Yeah, but there was ones that now will use the movement of the waves, so you can literally stick it offshore, and
tidal generators.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got submersed ones as well now.
Yeah. They're really cool.
That work quite well. But again, imagine the maintenance cost on those.
Not too high. I mean, if they're...
not too high.
The ones
underwater.
But the ones I've seen are made out of plastic and not metal.
Oh, only the out case is made from plastic.
Oh, yeah. You'll have to have
There's still metal there.
Yeah.
And there's still all the cabling that's there.
Yeah, I guess. But it could be more protected than wind turbines are, I think.
But they're not as effective either.
No. Nowhere near as much
So
power.
it's all.
But the benefit with those is that you can, for us, they could be placed all along the shores of the entire island, right? Potentially, I mean.
Yeah. But again, it's that carbon footprint versus how long do they actually last?
I don't know.
How much power do they actually generate? So we're talking about clean energy. We weren't actually talking about clean energy. Well, we were, because global warming, energy crisis, the power.
Same thing. It's
There's just nowhere to. There's no easy solution. If it was an easy solution, it would have been done already.
Yes. I sometimes wonder, though, if, let's say we can't crack fusion, right? There's no kind of solution for power after that. Does that make sense? Like nuclear power provides...
Currently, there's no current technologies that we're really delving into that are more promising than fusion.
But there isn't. There won't be.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you said there won't be. There was no such thing as fusion not too long ago. Fusion power.
You look up it every day, even in the in the year
when
zero.
did they think about making a fusion power generator?
Probably about 1,000 years ago. Not 1,000. About
1,000 years ago. Yeah, that's right.
Probably about 100 years ago.
The cavemen come out and thought, I'll build a nuclear fusion reactor.
Probably about 100 years ago. Century ago.
Okay, so it's a century ago. So what happens in a century's time? There may be new technologies that are coming around.
Nah, there isn't.
Why not?
There's antimatter, but it takes too much power to generate antimatter.
Until you find a way to generate it.
Yeah, I guess.
That doesn't take too much power.
Sure, yeah, I guess.
What about heat pump technology?
You mean the very things they use in nuclear power plants?
Yeah, but I mean natural heat from the ground.
Geothermal?
Yeah, heat pump.
It's going to be about as effective as wind turbines, I think.
So the UK government are really pushing those to replace your boilers with in the UK for your heating in your home.
Yeah.
Now, if the temperature gets down to like -8, they're pretty crap and useless and do next to nothing.
Yeah.
But they still insist that they're great for this country. They're perfect. The UK climate's perfect for them.
No.
Despite all the stories you're seeing, people saying in the winter they can't get their home heated above 15 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, which is pretty cold.
Yeah. So, but the temperature in the UK rarely gets down that low. Well, we had it about a month ago, and it's heading that way again next month.
Yeah.
So twice in 2 months, and they say, well, temperature never gets that low in the UK. Get a grip.
Yeah.
They tell you this so you get this heat pump so you can sit in your house and freeze.
Yeah, basically.
So then you need to turn on electric heaters to warm your house, which costs an absolute fortune at the moment.
Yes.
Then they're complaining that the grid's going to go out because we haven't got enough power if everyone keeps putting on electric heaters. It's like, well, you brought this on yourself. You're telling everyone to get heat pumps.
Yeah.
If everyone got heat pumps now, the electricity grid would collapse because everyone would have their electric heating on as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not a good idea. Don't get heat pumps.
But there's a secondary option. In addition to a gas boiler or electric heaters or whatever, especially in the temperatures when it's not too cold, it works fine. It keeps your house relatively warm.
Yep.
Other than the £15,000 price tag, although there's some government schemes and they've got more affordable ones that are supposed to be coming out, it's going to cost about £5,000. So they're saying it's comparable with boilers now, with gas boilers.
Yeah.
Although you can get gas boilers from £1,500. So it's comparable with a relatively expensive gas boiler. But it's getting cheaper. And my question would be, how many of those can you shove into the ground and start pulling heat out of the ground before you affect
surrounding climate or surrounding environment?
Yeah, well, so it works on temperature differentials. Now, if you're pulling all that heat out of the ground, you'll lower the heat eventually. It's going to get cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they say, yeah, but that gets warmed up again by the core and the magma and all this sort of layer. Okay, let's say it does. You keep pulling that heat out. How many can you stick in the ground before you're in danger of cooling the
planet's core?
Not the core itself, but let's say magma. Start cooling the layer of magma below that, or making it sluggish so that it doesn't move properly, because that does affect the rotation of the Earth, I believe.
Yeah. And also, it would affect the climate of the country as well. Probably more than that, because you're cooling the ground down, you're going to start having adverse weather as well.
If you took 2 degrees off the ground temperature, that's a lot.
Yeah.
The whole country is just 2 degrees colder, pretty much.
Well, it's a difference in temperature, isn't it, between the air and the ground? You've just increased that now, so you're then going to have.
Yeah, but it's not just surface level. It goes a bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
So you're cooling the lower level of the ground.
Yeah.
So that's not just going to warm up instantly when the sun comes out. We're not talking the top 20 centimeters of the ground, which takes freaking barely gets any hotter in 8 hours of sunshine in the UK.
Yeah.
So we're talking like what, 5 meters depth? I think it goes to something like
that. Didn't you say it was long? Like.
No, I was thinking of the old school heat pumps where they go like 60 meters, but
okay.
these heat pumps are going like 5 meters or something like that.
Okay.
2 to 5 meters, depending and stuff like that. So if you're just cooling the ground, the surface 2 meters below ground, how long before it has a really significant impact? How many of them do you put in the ground? Now let's talk about every household in the UK doing it. So what's that? 60 million.
No, that's not.
That's 60 million people.
36.
36 million. Okay, so you stick 36 million of those in the UK. Well, let's just start with London. Let's say they're putting in enough around a sky-rise flats to do all of the flats.
Yeah.
And every area in London where it's very heavily populated. What impact's that going to have on London, temperature-wise?
Well.
And if the whole planet done it, stuck these heat pumps in the ground, and that's not viable for the whole planet. But let's just assume that it was. Let's say, okay, out of the whatever, what is it, billion household, or 2 billion households, that 1 billion households do it. That's 1 billion heat pumps stuck in the ground. How much power is that pulling out of the ground? How much is it cooling the ground by?
Quite a lot.
Or is it going to be negligible in comparison by how much the sun warms it? I don't know. Has anyone even thought about that? Or are we just going to try and push we've got global warming issue now. Great, we can cool it down. We can cool the planet down. We're heating up the atmosphere.
Yeah.
This is making it worse.
No, yeah.
So is that it's green power because it's free. We're just pulling the heat from the earth and putting it into the atmosphere. So it's green, right?
No. This is the very nature of humans, though, isn't it?
Well, this is what I don't know. This is what I'm getting at. I don't know the math and the science behind it all.
No.
But to me, it seems illogical.
Yeah.
We're going to take the heat out of the ground, put it into the atmosphere, and that's going to be better for global warming?
No.
I don't know.
I mean, but this is what I'm saying. It's the very nature of humans. They only deal with the issue now and not think about the future of what they're doing. This is why you see like houses that are built on the.
No, but this whole thing was to improve global warming. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but this is what I mean by the short-sightedness.
No, it's not short-sightedness. It would just be completely wrong if that was the case. I don't know.
They probably don't either.
Know.
That's why they're doing it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I bet they don't know. I bet they haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
They've just gone, oh, look, we won't have to burn gases if everyone sticks a heat pump in the ground.
Yeah.
But what effect does that have? Who cares?
I don't know.
We're not burning gas anymore.
Yeah.
Great.
And that's what it is how it looks in the media, how it looks to the public.
Anyway.
That's the whole idea.
I think we'll call it there for a night.
No, I want to carry on talking about this. I think... No, I don't.
No, you don't.
No.
Okay. we got a few more topics. We'll probably
continue with next week.
What have we got for next week? Sex education at schools. Has it gone too far? Are they teaching it too young?
Is it not enough?
It's gone too far.
No, it hasn't. Oh, wait. It depends. This is a discussion for next week.
It's gone too far. Anyway, we'll talk about that next week. Also, while we're on the subject of schools, a lot of schools aren't giving any homework anymore because students aren't capable of doing it. I think it ties back into the woke thing. They complain enough, they don't have to do it, so schools are starting to drop it.
They should have done this a decade and a half earlier.
No, they shouldn't. They should make it twice as much homework.
No, they should have done it when I was at school.
So this is one of the things that my kids will moan about doing their homework. And no, you're not doing anything else. You've done your homework. It takes them 10 minutes. We'll argue about it for 20 minutes. Then it takes them 10 minutes. I'm like, all of that arguing for 10 minutes of homework. Why on earth haven't you got 2 hours of homework?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing as well. It's not long enough if it is.
Why is he only getting 10 minutes of homework? And the school have started making a lot of the homework optional.
Yeah, I've noticed that. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, because people complain.
Terrible. Anyway,
It's woke society.
this is a topic.
That's next week's topic.
Discussion for next week.
And then we've got bullying, cyberbullying,
yeah,
leading
how
to
it affects teenagers.
how it affects teenagers, not just teenagers, even the bit older,
Yeah.
adults, young adults, let's call them, and potentially leads to suicide in quite a number of cases. So,
And why does it appear to be higher now than it did?
well, do you want me to answer that?
No.
Because they're all these
Next
blooming
week.
woke idiots.
Next week.
That'll still be my answer next week, but with a bit more detail.
Yeah.
Okay, so tune in next week, and we may add some more topics to that. And I'm thinking about adding in a midweek shorter episode, just a 20-minute one or something like that. We'll see how it goes. I was actually speaking to Fat Boy saying we should probably reduce our episodes. They're too long.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are downloading too much because of the length.
I don't think so. I think it's worth it. Stick it on. But you're saying this at an hour and 15.
Yeah, no, I personally like long form content.
Of course, yeah.
But then I realise the younger generation, because of TikTok, have got an attention span of 1 minute.
That could be one of the subjects we talk about next week. Because our audience is not going to be the young people. I can tell you that right now.
Actually, I was looking at demographics on YouTube.
Aren't we supposed to be finishing this?
Yeah, but they might be interested in listening. I was looking at demographics on YouTube.
Yes.
And it was like 24%, because it's set as not for children.
Yeah.
It only gives me stats for over 18. Or people claiming to be over 18.
Of course.
It was something like 24% 18 to 25.
Yeah.
Our biggest band was 25 to 44.
Yeah. Not surprising.
And then the 44 to whatever it is was the next biggest, and then the one after that was about the same as was the lowest, I think.
There you go. You see?
So it's 25 to sort of 55 is our demographic who are watching and listening.
There's two reasons for that. One is the subjects we talk about, and two is the fact that it's a podcast or the format it comes in. Because it's not in a 25...
It's not in a short form.
10-second video.
Yeah, so I've actually put a few shorts up on YouTube and on...
Go check them out.
I started putting the shorts onto Twitter.
Oh.
I'm not a big Twitter user. I haven't been, but I'm on Twitter daily now. Fat Boy hasn't looked at our Twitter page.
I hate Twitter.
He'd probably be mortified if he looked at it. He'd
No.
be like, "No, you can't say that."
As long as there's not a picture of me.
So
on
I
there,
should
it's
say I
fine.
didn't fill in any Twitter stuff. It wasn't me. Fat Boy done all of our Twitter.
But you've just said that I haven't been on it. I haven't
Yeah, but
looked at it.
I put really offensive things on there, so I've got to say you did it, so I don't get blamed.
Right, okay.
No, not that offensive. Nothing offensive,
Wasn't me.
unless you're woke.
Yeah.
On that
well,
note,
see you
we'll
next
see you next
week.